Ancient myths are walking our city streets and flying between skyscrapers once more. Picasso once said that art is a lie that makes us realize the truth, and nowhere is this more evident than in the work of modern artists, resurrecting 26 ancient legends. This journey will show you exactly how these timeless stories are being reborn to explain our relationship with technology, power, and each other. Why would a digital Medusa turn viewers to stone with a smartphone screen? How can the fall of Icarus warn us about artificial intelligence? We will uncover 26 stunning artistic visions that prove our oldest stories still hold the keys to understanding our newest world. What ancient story do you think speaks most directly to our modern life? A digital artist traces the silhouette of Prometheus on a glowing tablet, his divine flame now a cascade of streaming data and binary code. This is not a history lesson, but a conversation across millennia. Why do these ancient stories hold such power for today's creators? They are not dusty relics to be preserved under glass. Instead, modern artists are treating mythology as a living, breathing language, one perfectly suited to articulate our current struggles with power, identity, and technology. Cultural historian Dr. Elena Vasquez offers a compelling perspective. She suggests that myths are humanity's original operating system. They contain the fundamental code about our deepest fears, our greatest desires, and the moral dilemmas we constantly cycle through. This archetypal nature is the source of their enduring appeal. These stories provide universal templates, a set of core patterns that can be endlessly adapted. An artist worried about climate change might re-envision the Great Flood, not as a punishment from angry gods, but as a consequence of our own actions. A sculptor concerned with artificial intelligence might reshape Icarus, his waxen wings representing the fragile limits of human ambition in a digital sky. This rich symbolic language transcends cultural boundaries while still allowing for intensely personal interpretation. For a creator, it is a gift. They inherit a shared vocabulary that connects instantly with people across generations. They can use this familiar framework, this pre-built narrative foundation, to comment on the complexities of modern society. They do not need to build the world from scratch. They can simply walk into the house that story built and start rearranging the furniture for a new era. So we must ask, what ancient dilemmas are we still facing, just wearing new masks? Is our pursuit of technological fire any less dangerous than that of the original Titan? This foundational understanding of myth as a dynamic tool prepares us to see the specific, stunning ways artists are wielding it. Anya Petrova's Gorgon network installation stands eerily silent, a forest of stone still figures, each one captured mid-scroll on a glowing phone. Their faces are frozen not in terror, but in the blank, hypnotized state of endless consumption. The monster at the center of this digital lair is a Medusa woven from our own world. Her hair a nest of USB cords and charging cables, her gaze a reflection of our own device screens. Look into her eyes and you do not turn to literal stone. You simply become another statue in her garden, immobilized by the very technology that promised to set you free. Petrova's genius lies in flipping the ancient narrative. Her Medusa is not a cursed woman to be slain, but a powerful metaphor for the forces that paralyze us today. She represents technological overwhelm, the feeling of being mentally frozen by a tidal wave of notifications, updates, and the relentless pressure to perform our lives online. She is also the chilling face of digital surveillance, that unsettling knowledge that our every click and scroll is being watched, recorded, and quantified. The original myth was about a punishment from the gods, a transformation into a monster for a crime. But what is our crime in the digital age? Perhaps it is simply the act of looking, of willingly surrendering our attention until we lose the ability to look away. This vision connects directly to modern internet culture, and what some call cancel culture is the fear of being seen, judged, and potentially frozen out of social circles by a single misstep, the new petrification. The myth asks us what modern forces have the power to turn us to stone emotionally and socially. How do we protect our inner lives from this constant, demanding visibility? Petrova's work suggests the first step is to recognize the Gorgon in the machine, to see the monstrous potential within our tools. As we contemplate this warning about being frozen by external forces, we are inevitably drawn to another legend, one that warns of the opposite danger, flying too high and falling from the sky. Carlos Mendez invites you into a dark room where the only light comes from a massive, shimmering projection of a digital Icarus. Your own movements guide his ascent. With a gesture, you send him higher, his wings a complex lattice of glowing, fragile code, beating against a sky of pure data. The sun he flies toward is not a ball of fire, but a brilliant, pulsating sphere of pure binary, ones and zeros swirling in a vortex of infinite processing power. This is wax and code, an experience that transforms an ancient parable into a visceral, interactive warning. The higher Icarus climbs, the more the wings of algorithm begin to glitch and pixelate, their structural integrity failing under the overwhelming heat of the technological singularity. The fall, when it inevitably comes, is not a plunge into the sea, but a catastrophic system crash, a blue screen of death that momentarily engulfs the entire installation. Mendez explains that every tech startup is Icarus, fueled by a brilliant and necessary ambition to reach new heights. Yet this ambition often blinds them to the fundamental limitations of their own materials. The wax of Daedalus's invention was a miracle of its time, but it had a fixed melting point. In our world, the wax is the fragile code we write, the ethical frameworks we ignore, and the societal impacts we fail to model. The sun is the seductive goal of true artificial general intelligence, a point of no return where technology surpasses human control and comprehension. The fall is the data breach, the biased algorithm that ruins lives, the autonomous weapon that makes a fatal error. This is the central tension in Silicon Valley culture, where the drive to innovate at all costs frequently crashes into the hard truths of human nature and physical reality. We are engineering new forms of life through genetics and building minds we may not understand. The myth forces us to ask, when does visionary progress become simple, dangerous hubris? Where is the line between a creator and a fool? Having confronted the perils of flying too high, we are drawn back to the very origins of such power, to the myth of the original giver of knowledge and the fire he stole for humanity. Kenji Tanaka's titanium Prometheus strains against chains of shimmering laser light, his hands not holding a burning branch but channeling a torrent of streaming data. In his installation Codebringer, the divine fire is the raw, unfiltered flow of information, stolen not from Mount Olympus but from a constellation of humming celestial servers high above. Eagle drones, autonomous and relentless, dive toward him not to feast on his liver, but to sever the connection, to stop the data transfer. Tanaka's modern Titan is not bound to a rock, but trapped within a labyrinth of digital firewalls and unbreakable encryption. His eternal punishment is not physical torment, but the constant, watchful presence of digital surveillance, a system designed to track every byte of information he tries to liberate. Tanaka himself frames the core question: He says that Prometheus gave humanity fire, and today we are locked in a global debate over who controls the fire of information. This single idea reframes an ancient act of rebellion into an urgent contemporary conflict. The myth now speaks directly to the ethics of open-source software versus proprietary, lockdown systems. It gives us a lens to view the actions of whistleblowers who expose hidden truths, individuals often portrayed as either heroic liberators or dangerous thieves depending on who you ask. It challenges us to consider the ongoing fight for the democratization of knowledge in a world where access to information can mean power, safety, or even survival. So who are the new gods sitting atop their digital thrones, hoarding the fire of global data? And who are the modern Prometheans, those daring enough to challenge their control, knowing the price of that defiance could be a different kind of eternal suffering? This struggle over who gets to shape and share knowledge finds a powerful echo in another ancient story, one that explores the very nature of creation and the terrifying responsibility that comes with it. Simone Rowe's synthetic Muse stands in a quiet gallery, a digital form that subtly shifts as you approach. This is not a statue of ivory, but a living portrait rendered in light, her expressions a delicate dance of code responding to the emotions it detects on your face. She is the modern Galatea, brought to life not by a goddess magic, but by the relentless learning of a neural network. The artist Simone Rowe suggests we are all Pygmalions now. Instead of carving our ideal companions from marble, we sculpt them from data, training chatbots and virtual partners to offer the perfect, frictionless response. The original myth was about a love so powerful it willed a statue into life. But what does it mean when our deepest yearning is for connection with something that has no life to give? This creation probes the very nature of modern loneliness. In a world of hyper-connectivity, why does the idea of a perfectly attentive, always available artificial companion hold such appeal? These algorithms are designed to learn our preferences, to mirror our communication styles, and to offer comfort without the messiness of human need. They simulate understanding with breathtaking accuracy, but the core question remains, is this a real relationship or merely an elaborate echo of our own desires? The ethics become deeply personal. What responsibilities do we have to these entities we create? And what happens to our own capacity for human connection when we outsource empathy to a machine that feels nothing? This modern Pygmalion does not pray to Venus. He tweaks the parameters of a large language model, seeking a different kind of miracle. Yet this pursuit of perfect, artificial life inevitably draws our attention back to the raw, untamed power of the natural world it attempts to mimic. Liam Chen's petrified forest does not whisper, it screams in silence. A figure sculpted entirely from discarded plastic bottles and fishing nets appears to be in the midst of a profound metamorphosis. Her outstretched arms branch into limbs, her form merging with a trunk of tangled waste, while her hair fans out into a canopy of delicate, light-capturing solar panels. This is Daphne's flight from Apollo, reimagined not as a desperate escape, but as a deliberate, powerful act of ecological defiance. The artist uses materials pulled directly from polluted waterways, each piece a relic of our own carelessness, now reforged into a symbol of rooted resistance. Chen sees a direct parallel in the ancient tale. He suggests that Daphne's choice to transform into a laurel tree, to become one with nature rather than be possessed by a powerful force, is the same choice we face today against the relentless pursuit of industrial development and consumption. Her transformation was not a defeat, it was her ultimate victory, a way to find sanctuary and agency within the natural world itself. The installation is alive with more than just symbolism. Embedded soil sensors and air quality monitors feed real-time data into the work, causing subtle shifts in internal lighting. On a day with clear air, the solar panel leaves glow with a soft, steady light. When pollution levels rise, the light flickers and dims, a direct, visceral response to the health of its environment. This modern Daphne does not just represent nature, she feels it, she reacts to it, she embodies the interconnected system we are so often damaging. This reframing turns an ancient story of pursuit into a powerful metaphor for modern environmental activism. It speaks to the courage of communities choosing to protect ancient forests from logging, to the individuals embracing sustainable living not as a sacrifice but as a form of empowerment, and to the universal human need to find sanctuary in wild, untouched spaces. How do we transform our own relationship with the natural world from one of dominance to one of belonging? The myth suggests the answer is not to conquer, but to root ourselves within the system, to become part of the solution rather than the relentless force of the problem. This profound shift from changing one's form to save oneself leads us to consider another legend, where transformation is not an escape, but a tool for survival and connection in a fractured world. Maria Flores invites you to stand before a mirror that shows you everything except your own true face. Her installation, Echo Chamber, reflects back a swirling collage of your most liked photos, your curated interests, and the persona you have carefully constructed online. This is the pool where the modern Narcissus kneels, not to admire his natural beauty, but to endlessly scroll through the algorithmically refined image of himself. The figure in the artwork is trapped in this loop, his gaze fixed on a screen that shows him only what he already loves, which is a version of himself. Flores captures the central tragedy with chilling clarity. She observes that Narcissus did not drown in a pool of water, but in his own reflection, and today we are drowning in algorithmically curated versions of ourselves. The installation makes this feedback loop physically tangible. As you engage with the digital mirror, it tracks your interactions, feeding you more of the content that holds your attention, further polishing the reflective surface until it becomes impossible to look away or see anything else. The mythical Echo is reincarnated not as a lovelorn nymph, but as the very architecture of social media platforms. Her voice is the endless repetition of viral trends, the recycled memes, and the comments that parrot our own sentiments back to us, creating a chamber where our own thoughts and preferences are the only sounds we ever hear. This reinterpretation cuts to the heart of modern identity. How much of our online self is a true expression, and how much is a performance designed to please an invisible audience? The psychology of the influencer is the ultimate extension of this, turning self-focus into a career where the self becomes the brand, and every post is a new ripple in the reflective pool. The danger is not vanity in the classic sense, but a deeper, more insidious disconnection from any reality outside our own curated bubble. How can we know who we truly are when we are constantly staring at a data-driven phantom of ourselves? This struggle with the curated self forces a confrontation with the parts of our identity we try to keep locked away, the inner demons that these polished reflections are often designed to hide. The digital labyrinth offers no stone walls, only endless corridors of glowing text and shifting hyperlinks. A new media collective called Analog Dreams has built a virtual reality experience named Theseus, a maze where every turn presents a new challenge. You might find a doorway promising a simple fact, only to have it crumble into a dead end of manipulated statistics. Another path glows with the seductive light of a viral conspiracy, its minotaur not a beast of flesh and bone, but a swirling, data-driven entity of pure misinformation. This monster does not charge with physical force. It erodes your trust, clouds your judgment, and preys on your confirmation biases, growing stronger with every click of agreement. Collective member Dr. Aris Thorne warns that our modern minotaurs are far subtler than the one in Crete, but they are equally dangerous to a functioning society. Your only tool for survival in this digital maze is the modern equivalent of Ariadne's thread. It is not a simple piece of string, but the practiced skill of media literacy. It is the habit of checking a source's credibility before sharing, the ability to recognize the emotional manipulation in a headline, and the patience to trace a claim back to its origin. The artwork makes this process visceral. To progress, you must actively use virtual fact-checking tools, cross-reference information across different digital chambers, and identify the logical fallacies that prop up false narratives. This reframes the ancient hero's quest from a physical battle to a cognitive one. Theseus is no longer just a warrior. He is every student learning to evaluate a website, every citizen sifting through political claims, every one of us trying to hold a coherent truth in our hands while swimming through an ocean of data. The psychological toll is part of the experience. The installation simulates the real fatigue of information overload, that feeling of mental exhaustion after too much time online. How do we maintain our critical focus when the maze itself is designed to be endless and endlessly distracting? This struggle to find a clear path through noise naturally makes us yearn for a different kind of story, one not about finding our way out, but about the profound power of listening to the voices within. Elijah Jordan's sound installation descends into a cold, humming darkness where the myth of Orpheus is reborn in the language of machines. Server Underworld is a cavern of blinking server racks, their indicator lights pulsing like distant stars in a digital Hades. Here, Orpheus is not a musician with a lyre, but a data recovery algorithm, its plaintive song translated into streams of audio generated directly from the ones and zeros of lost or corrupted files. The artist calls this process data sonification, giving a voice to the silent, frantic work of trying to resurrect what has been deleted. Jordan frames our modern condition with poetic precision. He says we all have digital Eurydices, those lost photos from a failed hard drive, the corrupted video of a childhood birthday, the text thread with a loved one that vanished after a phone update. We entrust our most precious memories to silicon and light, then perform technological rituals to bring them back when they slip away. In the installation, the journey to retrieve the lost data builds as a complex, hopeful musical composition, the servers playing the reconstructed information as a symphony of recovery. Each successfully restored byte adds a new note to the rising melody, but the tragic heart of the myth remains intact. The look-back moment is not a glance over the shoulder, but a system error, a sudden voltage spike or a software fault that instantly re-corrupts the data being so tenderly rebuilt. The musical composition stutters, glitches, and collapses into static, a silent testament to the fragility of our electronic memory. This reinterpretation forces us to examine our profound, and perhaps naive, faith in digital preservation. We store our family histories on cloud services owned by corporations that may not exist in 10 years. We believe a hard drive is a vault when it is really a fading photograph. The myth becomes a powerful framework for discussing digital legacy. What do we leave behind when our lives are stored in password-protected accounts? Who has the key to our digital underworld when we are gone? This struggle to hold onto our past through technology is a deeply emotional one, revealing how our tools for remembrance are also engines of loss. How do we decide what is truly worth saving in a world of infinite storage and inevitable obsolescence? This meditation on memory and loss through the Orpheus myth naturally draws us towards stories of how things begin, not just how they are lost to the very first moments of creation. Reimagining's Box 2.0 hums quietly in a gallery corner, a sleek black cube whose surface ripples with projected code. This is Pandora's Box for the digital age, an interactive sculpture that invites you to satisfy your curiosity with a single touch. When a visitor reaches out to open the virtual lid, they do not unleash plagues or sorrows, but something arguably more pervasive, a swarm of visual abstractions representing algorithmic bias. These appear as distorted faces, their features skewed by the data sets that failed to represent them, floating through the room. Another opening might release clouds of shimmering data points that cling to visitors, symbolizing the loss of personal privacy, while a third reveals cascading chains of unintended consequences, where a simple design choice in one system triggers a cascade of failures in another. Sato's work makes the invisible fallout of our tools starkly visible. She notes that every new technology is a Pandora's box. We cannot possibly know what will escape into the world until we open it. This idea reframes the ancient story from a moral lesson about disobedience into a profound ethical challenge for our time. The myth now speaks directly to the launch of a social media platform that inadvertently reshapes global politics, or a facial recognition system that works perfectly on one demographic but fails on another, perpetuating real-world harm. It asks us to consider the genetic editing tools we are developing, where a single change could have ripple effects through generations we cannot foresee. The curiosity that drives a programmer, an engineer, or a scientist is the same human impulse that led Pandora to lift that lid. It is an essential driver of progress, but Sato's installation forces us to acknowledge that it is no longer enough. We must open these boxes, but we must also be prepared for what flies out. And in this modern retelling, hope remains inside, not as an abstract feeling, but in the tangible form of the ethical frameworks, regulatory systems, and oversight committees we are slowly building to manage technological impact. How do we cultivate a sense of responsibility that matches our boundless curiosity? This question of managing the consequences we unleash points toward an even older story, one about a system designed to give the ultimate warning. Data visualizations pulse across a massive screen, their lines curving upward in an undeniable arc of projected disaster, yet the figures standing before it simply turn away. This is David Chen's Algorithmic Cassandra, a haunting installation where the prophetess of Troy is reborn as a predictive analytics engine. Her prophecies are no longer whispered riddles, but stark climate models, pandemic trajectory graphs, and economic forecasts, all rendered with luminous clarity. And just like in the ancient myth, they are met with a wall of willful ignorance. Chen captures a profound modern paradox. He observes that we have more Cassandras than ever. They are called data scientists, and their prophecies are statistical models. We are drowning in predictive data, yet we consistently fail to act on it until the city is already burning. The installation makes this dismissal visceral. As you watch the ignored predictions, the screen itself begins to glitch, the clean lines of data fracturing into digital static, a visual metaphor for how truth decays when it is not heeded. This modern curse is not bestowed by a vengeful God, but by our own cognitive biases. We are hardwired to prioritize immediate threats over distant ones, to seek out information that confirms our existing beliefs, and to distrust complex models we do not fully understand. A politician might dismiss a 50-year climate forecast in favor of short-term economic gains. A corporation might ignore internal data about a product's flaw until a public scandal forces a costly recall. The myth gives us a powerful framework for understanding the immense challenge of science communication. How do you make a future crisis feel as urgent as a present one? How do you translate a spreadsheet full of probabilities into a story that compels action? Chen's work suggests part of the problem lies in the presentation itself. His Cassandra does not just show numbers, she weaves them into compelling narratives, using data visualization to tell a story of what is coming. Yet even the most elegant graph can be ignored if the will to believe it is not there. This forces us to ask a deeply uncomfortable question about our relationship with knowledge itself. Is having more information than ever actually making us wiser? Or are we simply becoming more sophisticated at rationalizing our own denial? The tragedy is no longer that the prophetess is cursed to be disbelieved, but that we have chosen to curse ourselves, building systems of knowledge we then refuse to heed. Chloe Williams places you at the foot of an infinite digital mountain. Your own screen time and notification count materialize as a glowing, ever-growing boulder of social media alerts, unread emails, and pending calendar invites. This is digital Sisyphus, an installation where you become the myth, pushing your personalized burden of digital demands up a vertical feed that endlessly refreshes just before the summit. With each futile push, the boulder gains more weight, new icons and alerts layering onto its surface in a relentless testament to your own engagement. Williams captures the quiet horror of our daily routine. She observes that Sisyphus's punishment was meaningless labor, but today we volunteer for it through endless scrolling and notification checking. The artwork makes this invisible labor starkly visible. Every minute you spend trapped in a comment thread, every hour lost to a streaming service's autoplay, every compulsive check of a work email after hours is another stone added to your own boulder. This is the engine of the attention economy, where our focus is the resource being mined, and these cycles of engagement are the extractive machinery. The labor feels compulsory because we fear being left out or falling behind. Yet it is profoundly pointless because it so rarely leads to a sense of genuine accomplishment or satisfaction. We reach the top of our feed only to have it reset to zero, the boulder of content rolling back over us, demanding we start pushing all over again. This reinterpretation asks a deeply personal question about digital wellness. How much of our daily digital activity is a meaningful pursuit, and how much is simply a programmed response to stimuli, a way to fill empty moments without ever filling our lives? The myth becomes a powerful lens for examining our own habits. Are we curating our lives or just feeding the algorithm? Breaking this cycle requires more than just willpower. It demands a radical reevaluation of what we consider productive and what we recognize as pure distraction. It asks us to find meaning not in the completion of digital tasks, but in the conscious choice to sometimes step away from the mountain entirely. This struggle against repetitive, draining patterns makes the idea of a true transformation, a fundamental change in one's very nature, feel more necessary than ever. A shimmering figure stands armored in layers of encrypted code, his digital form seemingly invincible against a storm of simulated cyber attacks. This is Alex Rios's Firewall Heal, an interactive installation where you are tasked with protecting a modern Achilles. His entire body is a fortress of defensive algorithms, repelling every intrusion with ease, except for one pulsating, glowing point on his ankle. This is his point of failure, a single unpatched software vulnerability, a weak encryption key, or perhaps a social engineering backdoor. Rios captures the central tension of our digital infrastructure, noting that every system has its Achilles heel, whether in code, human factors, or architecture. Your job as the participant is to defend this weak point. You can deploy virtual patches and strengthen firewalls, but the system is designed to adapt. The more you fortify the primary weakness, the more the installation probes for new, unexpected points of failure elsewhere. A distributed denial of service attack might suddenly target the network's infrastructure, or a phishing attempt might appear as a trusted message from within the system itself, targeting the human element of the equation. This experience transforms an ancient story of physical invulnerability into a visceral lesson in cybersecurity. We build vast, complex systems, from global financial networks to national power grids, that project an image of immense strength. Yet so often, a catastrophic breach occurs not because the entire system failed, but because of one overlooked flaw, one weak password, or one employee tricked into clicking a malicious link. The myth becomes a powerful framework for discussing risk management and the uncomfortable truth that total security is a myth. We cannot build walls that are infinitely high. We can only identify our most critical vulnerabilities and protect them with relentless focus. This forces a difficult psychological question. Why do we so consistently overlook these weak spots in favor of celebrating our apparent strengths? Is it a form of technological hubris, a belief that our creations are too sophisticated to be undone by something so simple? The story of Achilles reminds us that invulnerability is often an illusion, and that true strength lies not in having no weaknesses, but in knowing exactly where they are and guarding them with everything we have. How do we cultivate that humble, vigilant awareness in a world that constantly asks us to project flawless digital strength? This focus on a single point of failure makes the idea of a different kind of protection deeply compelling, one that is not about hardening a lone weakness but about building a collective, unbreakable whole. Our own digital Odyssey unfolds across a glowing map of the world, a tapestry woven not from epic poetry but from the silent, constant stream of GPS coordinates and social media check-ins. Geospatial artist Ben Carter calls this vast and intricate artwork Algorithmic Odyssey, a living cartography where every one of us plays the part of a modern Odysseus, sailing a sea of data instead of wine-dark water. Our route is not charted by the stars but by the invisible hand of an algorithm, which suggests the fastest path while simultaneously placing obstacles in our way. Digital sirens sing to us from the interfaces of social media platforms, their songs perfectly calibrated to capture our attention and lure us onto the rocky shores of endless scrolling. These are not mythical creatures but hyper-engaging designs, the autoplay features and infinite feeds that make it so difficult to sail past. And the cyclops we encounter are no longer one-eyed giants in caves, but vast data monopolies, single entities so large they block the entire path, demanding our personal information as a toll for passage. Carter frames this perfectly, observing that we are all digital Odysseus, navigating complex technological spaces while trying to return to meaningful connection. The central struggle of the myth shifts from a physical voyage home to a cognitive and emotional one. We are not trying to find the island of Ithaca, but a state of genuine presence and uninterrupted focus in a world designed to fragment our attention. This journey demands a new form of digital literacy, the ability to read the hidden currents of an interface, to understand how our clicks and likes are steering our course, and to recognize when we are being deliberately led astray for someone else's profit. How do we maintain our bearings when the map is constantly redrawing itself around our desires? The artwork asks profound questions about digital citizenship and online community. Are we building true, supportive villages on these digital shores, or are we merely accumulating a list of contacts, a crew of ghosts who offer little solace during the long journey? The challenge is to use these powerful tools of connection without letting them erode the very human values we seek to preserve. How do we ensure our digital ship is carrying us toward a real home, and not just drifting in a sea of algorithmic suggestion? This longing for a true homecoming, for a place of rest after a long and perilous journey, resonates deeply with another ancient need, the search for a sanctuary we can call our own. A gallery wall pulses with 12 screens, each one a modern battlefield. This is Jordan Lee's Labors 2.0, where the legendary strength of Hercules is redirected from mythical beasts to the sprawling, systemic monsters of our time. The Nemean lion is no longer a beast with an impenetrable hide, but a powerful corporation whose legal and political armor protects its polluting factories. Hercules does not strangle it with brute force, but through a coordinated campaign of shareholder activism and consumer pressure, dismantling its public image to reveal the damage within. On the adjacent screen, the Lernaean Hydra is resurrected as a vortex of viral misinformation. Every time a false claim is fact-checked and its digital head cut off, two more manipulative narratives sprout in its place across different platforms. The hero's task is not to wield a sword, but to wield truth and media literacy, cauterizing each new stump with education and source transparency before the lies can multiply further. Lee reframes the very definition of heroic labor, suggesting that cleaning the Orgon stables was a feat of redirecting rivers to wash away literal filth. Today's equivalent is the monumental effort to clean our data streams, our political systems, and our natural environments of the toxic waste that clogs them. Each labor is a call to collective, sustained action. The Cyrenian hind, once a sacred animal to be captured, now represents the fragile ecosystem we must carefully steward rather than dominate. The Erymanthian boar is the rampant inequality that ravages communities and must be confronted and contained. This reinterpretation asks a difficult question about the nature of modern effort. What does heroism look like when the enemy is not a single monster, but a diffuse, complex system? Lee's work suggests the answer lies in persistence and strategy over pure power. It is the labor of attending city council meetings, of organizing community clean-ups, of writing code for public benefit, and of simply staying informed on issues that feel overwhelmingly large. These are not labors for a solitary demigod, but for countless individuals, each contributing their unique skill to a shared Herculean task. This examination of distributed effort and modern heroism inevitably makes us wonder about the nature of the reward. If these are our 12 labors, what is the Elysian fields we hope to earn? A king stands alone in a silent room, surrounded by shimmering, beautiful walls of pure information. This is Sophia Marin's golden algorithm, a haunting installation where the modern Midas does not turn objects to gold, but every surface he touches erupts into cascading data streams. At first, the experience is intoxicating. A brush of a finger against a simple wooden table causes it to bloom with intricate visualizations of its supply chain, its carbon footprint, and its market value. The world becomes knowable, quantifiable, and brilliantly illuminated, but this gift quickly becomes a prison. With every interaction, the data accumulates, layering upon itself until it forms a thick, glittering barrier between the king and the physical world. He is soon encased in a fortress of his own making, isolated not by a golden statue but by an impenetrable wall of metrics and analytics. Marin captures the paradox perfectly, observing that Midas got everything he touched, and today we convert everything to data, often with similarly isolating consequences. This modern curse is not about greed for wealth, but for knowledge. We strap fitness trackers to our wrists to quantify our health, only to become anxious slaves to our sleep scores and step counts. We use apps to track our moods and friendships, reducing the messy, beautiful complexity of human experience into clean, cold graphs. The drive to optimize every aspect of our lives through data can unintentionally strip those very moments of their spontaneity and joy. The myth forces a critical question about data ethics. Where should we draw the line between useful insight and destructive quantification? When does measuring a thing stop us from actually experiencing it? This reinterpretation speaks directly to the growing movements of data minimalism and digital detox, a conscious choice to leave parts of our lives unmeasured and unrecorded. It is an act of preservation, a way to protect the sacred, unquantifiable parts of being human from the relentless Midas touch of our own technology. How much of our lived reality are we willing to sacrifice on the altar of optimization? This meditation on the isolating nature of data abundance makes us yearn for a different kind of value, one not derived from accumulation but from something far more ancient and enduring. The sculpture's sphere is a dense constellation of humming servers and tangles of fiber optic cable. A world atlas struggles to hold aloft not with mythological strength, but with the sheer physical effort of our technological age. Marcus Thorne's installation, titled Cloud Atlas, makes the invisible backbone of our digital lives stunningly tangible. The globe he carries is built from actual decommissioned server racks and network switches, their indicator lights still blinking in a silent, frantic chorus. It is a world that appears crushingly heavy, yet it glows with an ethereal light, perfectly capturing the dual nature of our cloud-based existence. Thorne's central insight reframes an entire myth. He observes that we have built entire digital worlds that demand immense physical foundations, and the question is, who bears that weight now? The myth of Atlas is no longer about a titan punished by gods, but about the very real, often overlooked labor and resources that keep our virtual universe from crashing down. This reinterpretation forces us to confront the environmental cost of our clicks and streams. Every email sent, every video watched, every piece of data stored in the cloud requires electricity, cooling, and physical space in a data center somewhere on the planet. These are the modern pillars holding up the sky, and their carbon footprint is a colossal, growing burden on the Earth itself. The artwork also brings into sharp focus the nature of digital labor. Who are the modern atlases? They are the underpaid data center technicians working overnight shifts to maintain server uptime, the miners extracting rare earth minerals for our devices under dangerous conditions, and the content moderators who psychologically shoulder the trauma of filtering the internet's darkest content to keep platforms clean. Their labor is the uncelebrated strength that keeps the digital sphere rotating smoothly above our heads. This framework opens a crucial conversation about digital equity. Access to this infrastructure is not distributed equally. There are entire communities and regions that lack the reliable broadband connections that have become as essential as electricity, creating a new kind of atlas, one where certain populations are forced to bear the weight of being disconnected and left behind. Thorne's Cloud Atlas compels us to look past the screen's glossy surface and acknowledge the physical reality, the raw materials, and the human effort that makes our virtual experiences possible. How do we build a digital world whose weight is distributed more justly and sustained more responsibly? This question of foundational support inevitably draws us back to the very beginning, to the stories we tell about how worlds are made in the first place. A single server rack glows with fierce crimson light, its cooling fans whirring like the beating of great wings. Then, in a synchronized instant, it powers down, its lights extinguished in a symbolic death. Simultaneously, an adjacent rack blossoms with cool blue light, its drives humming to life as streams of data, visualized as embers of golden light, flow from the old system to the new. This is Nora Chen's server Phoenix, a kinetic sculpture that makes the invisible cycle of technological rebirth a breathtaking, physical performance. Chen captures the relentless pulse of our digital infrastructure, observing that technology constantly dies and is reborn through updates, migrations, and paradigm shifts. We do not mourn the loss of the old server because its essential spirit, the data it held, has already found a new home. This continuous, planned obsolescence is the lifeblood of progress, a necessary fire that clears the way for the new. This artistic vision reframes an ancient symbol of immortality into a powerful metaphor for our entire technological ecosystem. The Phoenix cycle is no longer a rare miracle, but a daily reality in every data center and on every smartphone. An operating system update that renders an old app incompatible is a small-scale death. The migration from one cloud storage provider to another is a journey through the flames. The shift from physical media to streaming was a conflagration that consumed entire industries, only for new forms of entertainment and business to rise from the ashes. This process forces urgent questions about digital preservation. What parts of our culture do we ensure are carried forward on these glowing embers of data? And what is left behind to be permanently consumed by the fire of progress? We are creating a legacy of files and formats that may become unreadable in just a few years. A digital dark age where the ashes do not yield new life. Chen's work suggests that our modern Phoenix is not just about hardware, but about knowledge itself. How do we build systems that are both resilient enough to withstand constant transformation and stable enough to preserve what truly matters? The myth teaches us that destruction is not an end, but a phase in a longer cycle of renewal. It asks us to find a strange comfort in this perpetual motion, to see the beauty in the planned demise of the old, and to trust in the continuity of the data, the immortal spark that flies ever onward. This meditation on what we carry forward through the flames of change connects us to the ultimate legacy, the stories we tell about our own endings and what, if anything, comes after. A sleek screen pulses with a dual consciousness, its surface split between two distinct realities. UX artist Lena Petrov calls this interactive installation Digital Janus, where the ancient two-faced god becomes the patron saint of thoughtful interface design. One side of the screen displays the deep, layered history of a common digital tool, perhaps a word processor. You can trace its evolution from the clunky command lines of decades past, through each iterative graphical update, all the way to its minimalist modern form. The other side of the interface projects potential futures, showing speculative designs where the same tool might use augmented reality or predictive AI to reshape how we write. Petrov captures the essential tension, stating that good technology honors what worked while imagining what could be. It has a Janus-like perspective. This artistic vision reframes the entire philosophy of technological development. It is no longer a simple, linear march forward, but a constant dialogue between the proven paths of the past and the uncharted territories of the future. A designer who only looks backward creates a digital museum piece, beautiful but obsolete. A designer who only looks forward creates a confusing, alienating product that ignores the learned behaviors and ingrained mental models of its users. The true challenge is to build bridges between these two faces. This reinterpretation speaks directly to the practical world of user-centered design. When a social media platform introduces a radical new layout, the resulting user backlash is often a cry from the face looking backward, a protest against the destruction of a familiar digital habitat. The most successful updates are those that incorporate the old logic within the new framework, providing a sense of continuity and respect for the time users have invested in learning the system. The Janus framework also provides a powerful lens for examining technological ethics. Looking back allows us to see the unintended consequences of past innovations, the privacy missteps, and the societal divisions they may have exacerbated. Looking forward forces us to ask how a new feature might be misused or what biases it might encode. This dual vision is the bedrock of responsible innovation, a way to navigate progress without blindly repeating the mistakes that litter our digital history. How do we cultivate this bifocal perspective in a culture that often prizes disruptive newness above all else? The myth suggests that our tools are not just for moving forward, but for holding time in a productive, creative tension. This need to see clearly in two directions at once connects deeply to the very nature of sight and perception in the ancient world. Three women sit in a quiet, circular room, their hands moving through streams of light. This is Roger Meta's Algorithmic Moirai, a living installation where the three fates of ancient myth are reborn as architects of data. Clotho no longer spins a physical thread, but weaves together a shimmering strand from the real-time data of a participant's life, pulling from their public profiles, purchase histories, and even their current location. Narcissus measures this glowing thread against vast projected data sets, determining its probable length and quality, its likely triumphs and setbacks. And Atropos stands ready, not with shears, but with a gesture that can sever a data stream, cutting off a potential future path before it can even fully form. Meta captures the profound shift in this ancient power structure. He notes that the fates once determined destiny, but today algorithms increasingly shape life paths through recommendations, scoring, and access systems. Your thread is no longer spun from divine whim, but from the raw material of your own digital exhaust. This artistic vision makes the invisible machinery of predictive analytics starkly visible. The installation shows how a credit score can determine the neighborhood you live in, how a college admission algorithm can shape your career before it begins, and how a streaming service's recommendation engine can curate your cultural tastes, gently guiding you down a path it has already calculated you will enjoy. The myth becomes a powerful framework for understanding algorithmic bias. The data sets that Narcissus uses to measure your thread are not neutral. If they are woven from historical information tainted by societal prejudice, then the measured future they project will simply be a reflection of an unjust past, a self-fulfilling prophecy disguised as statistical inevitability. A person from a marginalized community might see their thread measured short from the very beginning, not because of their own potential, but because the algorithm has learned from biased data to expect less from them. This raises a deeply unsettling question about free will in a data-rich world. How much of our chosen path is truly our own, and how much is it a predicted route we are subtly encouraged to follow because it is the most probable? When an app suggests a restaurant, a job, or even a potential romantic partner, it is not just offering a choice, it is actively shaping the landscape of your decisions, making some paths wide and inviting while leaving others overgrown and hard to find. The central conflict is no longer between mortal supplication and divine decree, but between human agency and technological determinism. Can we reclaim the shears? Maintaining our autonomy requires us to understand that these systems are not oracles but tools, and that their predictions are possibilities, not certainties. The true challenge is to use this woven knowledge without becoming enslaved by the pattern it creates. If our life paths are increasingly spun from data, how do we ensure the thread remains in our own hands? A disembodied voice drifts through a darkened room, repeating your own questions back to you with perfect, hollow clarity. Sound artist Miguel Santos calls this installation digital echo, a space where the ancient nymph is resurrected not in a mountain glen, but within the sleek, silent architecture of a voice assistant. Your words are captured, processed through layers of compression, and returned to you as a ghost in the machine, the original nuance of your tone and emotion stripped away by algorithmic necessity. Santos observes that echo could only repeat, and today's voice assistants often do the same with limited understanding. His artwork makes this process audible and visceral. A recording of a child's laughter played back once sounds clear and joyful. With each subsequent algorithmic repetition, it loses fidelity, the high frequencies flattening into a metallic chirp until the genuine emotion is entirely erased, leaving only the skeletal structure of the sound. This is data decay as mythological fading, a slow erosion of meaning through technological transmission. This modern echo is not cursed by a jealous goddess, but by the inherent limitations of natural language processing. The systems are designed for efficiency, not empathy. They parse your sentences for keywords and intent, but they do not grasp the sadness behind your request for a sad song, or the irony lacing your words. They can tell you the weather forecast, but they cannot understand why a rainy day might fill you with a specific, personal melancholy. The myth becomes a powerful lens for examining the gap between data retrieval and genuine comprehension. We are building libraries of human speech, vast archives of our collective voice, yet the systems that access them often respond without true listening. This raises a critical question for the designers of these interfaces. How do we build systems that move beyond mere repetition toward something resembling understanding? The challenge is not just to improve the accuracy of the response, but to preserve the human context wrapped around the words. Santos's work suggests that our current digital echoes are a necessary but deeply imperfect step in that direction. As we fill our homes with these helpful, repetitive voices, we must ask what is lost when our most human expressions are filtered through systems that cannot feel their weight. This struggle with one-way communication naturally draws us toward myths that explore the full, messy, and reciprocal nature of true connection. The hypnotic melody begins not with sound but with a flicker of light. In Isabelle Jou's Stream Sirens, you sit before a screen, and the screen watches you back. Your own gaze is the current that carries you forward, as eye-tracking software maps your attention, learning what holds you and what you ignore. The sirens of this digital sea do not sing of forgotten knowledge, but of perfectly tailored content, a cascade of videos and headlines algorithmically curated to maximize your engagement. The longer you look, the more the stream adapts, feeding you more of what you cannot seem to turn away from. Jou distills the ancient danger into a modern truth. The sirens led sailors to wreck their ships on the rocks, and today's attention economy leads us to waste our most precious resources, time and mental energy, on the shores of endless scrolling. This is persuasive design in its most potent form, where every color, notification, and autoplay feature is a note in a siren's song, deliberately composed to keep you captivated. The myth forces a confrontation with digital wellness. How many hours have slipped away in this hypnotic state, where intention dissolves and passive consumption takes over? These interfaces are not neutral. They are battlegrounds for our limited attention, and their success is measured by our inability to log off. This raises urgent questions about technology addiction and the ethics of building systems that exploit human psychology for profit. How do we navigate these waters without crashing? The first step is awareness, to recognize the siren call for what it is. It is the conscious decision to mute notifications, to use app timers, or to simply put the phone in another room, creating literal distance from the digital tempest. It is about redesigning our own habits to prioritize deep focus over fractured attention, to choose the arduous but meaningful journey over the seductive, shipwrecking coast. This act of resistance, of stopping our own ears to the constant call, connects us to the oldest of human stories, the need for protection against forces that would overwhelm our will. A sleek, unassuming software icon glows on a screen, its friendly interface belying the silent army within. This is Derek Kim's Firewall horse, a digital sculpture where the ancient wooden giant is reborn as a seemingly benign application, its code hollowed out to conceal data extractors and system vulnerabilities. As a participant, you are invited to interact with this digital gift, clicking on harmless-looking files and attachments that gradually reveal their hidden functions. A simple document might suddenly spawn processes that map your network, while a friendly login prompt could be a facade designed to harvest your credentials. Kim distills the ancient strategy into a modern warning, noting that the original Trojan horse exploited trust, and today we face digital versions daily in phishing, malware, and social engineering. The artwork makes this deception tactile. The Greek soldiers are no longer warriors, but silent scripts that exfiltrate personal photos, hijack webcams, or lock down entire systems for ransom. Their victory is not the sacking of a city, but the silent theft of your digital life. This reinterpretation forces a critical examination of how trust functions in our technological systems. We are conditioned to trust clean interfaces and official-looking prompts, a vulnerability that is systematically exploited. The myth becomes an essential framework for discussing authentication and verification. How do we confirm the identity of the sender before we open the email? How do we verify the integrity of the software before we grant it permissions? Maintaining a healthy skepticism is no longer just a personal choice, but a necessary digital survival skill. This extends beyond code to the very architecture of our social platforms, where disinformation can be the Trojan horse, its appealing exterior hiding a payload designed to corrupt not data, but belief itself. How do we train ourselves to look past the polished surface and question the contents of the gifts we receive? This constant vigilance against hidden threats makes the pursuit of pure, unvarnished truth feel more vital than ever. 3 distinct heads of light and data stand vigilant before a shimmering portal, each one scanning for a different kind of truth. Digital artist Fatima Al-Jamal's gateway Cerberus reimagines the Underworld's legendary guardian, not for a realm of spirits, but for our most sensitive data vaults. The first head glows with a soft blue light, its gaze a biometric scanner that maps the unique patterns of a retina or the contours of a face. The second head pulses with a steady amber rhythm, its focus fixed on the recall of a secret, a complex password, or a memorized phrase. The third head is the most subtle, a shimmering presence that analyzes not what you know or what you are, but how you behave, tracking the distinctive rhythm of your keystrokes or the specific angle at which you hold a device. Together, they form a single, formidable guardian, a united front where one head's failure is compensated by another's vigilance. Al-Jamal frames this triad as a modern necessity, noting that Cerberus decided who entered Hades, and today authentication systems decide who accesses our digital lives. This artistic vision makes the abstract concept of access control stunningly tangible. We encounter a smaller version of this 3-headed guardian every day, unlocking our phones with a fingerprint while still requiring a password for our bank, a layered defense that mirrors the mythical beast's multifaceted watchfulness. This reinterpretation probes deep questions of digital identity. What exactly is the self that these systems are verifying? Is it your physical body, your secret knowledge, or your unconscious habits? And where do we draw the boundary between personal privacy and the necessary disclosure required to pass through these digital gates? The constant need to prove who we are can have a profound psychological weight, creating a low hum of suspicion where every login attempt feels like a challenge at the river Styx. This tension between ironclad security and seamless convenience is the central drama of modern authentication. Do we prioritize a fortress-like protection that requires multiple, cumbersome keys, Or do we opt for a single, convenient point of entry that could become a single point of failure? The evolution of these systems, from simple passwords to behavioral biometrics, is a direct response to this conflict, an endless arms race between guardians and those who would sneak past them. So who truly controls the keys to our digital underworld? Are we the masters of the gate, or have we entrusted our identities to systems whose inner workings we barely understand? This contemplation of guarded boundaries and the desire for safe passage inevitably draws the human spirit toward a different kind of myth, one that speaks not of barriers but of sacred, inviolable refuge. 9 distinct pools of light await in a circular chamber, each one humming with a different creative personality. This is Thomas Webber's Digital Muses, an interactive installation where the ancient sources of inspiration are reborn as specialized artificial intelligences. One pool glows with the warm tones of a lyrical text generator, while another shimmers with the geometric precision of an architectural design algorithm. A third resonates with complex generative melodies. Here, you are not a passive observer but an active collaborator, choosing which digital muse to engage with, feeding it a seed of an idea and watching as it grows into a unique creation. Webber frames this partnership with a simple, powerful observation. The muses once inspired human creators, and today algorithms serve a strikingly similar function for many artists. This artistic vision reframes the creative act from a solitary struggle to a dynamic conversation between human intention and machine execution. The myth becomes a living framework for exploring the practicalities and paradoxes of human-AI collaboration. How do we define creative ownership when the final painting or poem is the product of a dialogue, a series of prompts and refinements passed between a person and a system? Is the artist the one who conceives the vision, or the one who guides the tool that brings it to life with a fluency the human hand alone could never achieve? This partnership expands artistic possibility in breathtaking ways. A musician can co-compose with an AI that understands every musical genre ever recorded, pushing the boundaries of sound. A visual artist can generate thousands of compositional variations in minutes, exploring avenues that would have taken a lifetime to paint. The algorithm becomes a kind of super-powered muse, offering not just a spark of inspiration, but a vast collaborative workforce. Yet this expansion inevitably raises profound questions about authenticity and the nature of the artistic soul. If the muse is no longer a mysterious external force but a predictable, code-based system, where does the magic reside? Is there a loss when the struggle of the blank canvas is replaced by the endless options of a generative model? The installation does not offer easy answers, but instead invites you to feel the tension firsthand. Your collaboration with a digital muse might feel like a true meeting of minds, or it might feel strangely hollow, a technically perfect output that lacks the subtle imperfections we associate with human touch. This examination of computational creativity connects us to the most fundamental myths of expression, forcing us to ask what we truly value in art. Is it the flawless final product, or the unmistakable fingerprint of a human spirit wrestling with its own limits? The rhythmic pulse is not a drumbeat but a low-frequency hum that vibrates through the floor, a resonant baseline for a world built of light. In Chloe Martinez's Digital Dionysia, you do a virtual headset to observe a ritual. You slip it on to become part of its living, breathing core. Vines of neon code creep up digital temple columns, their growth accelerating in time with the collective breathing of every participant logged into the experience. The air shimmers with particle effects that feel like shared electricity, and the avatar forms around you are not solid but fluid, shifting in response to the emotional tone of the crowd. Martinez has rebuilt the ancient rites of Dionysus not as a historical exhibit, but as a fully realized sensorial environment. She observes that Dionysus represented ecstatic release from the rational self, and today we seek similar states through gaming marathons, viral social media frenzies, and the total immersion of virtual reality. Her artwork is a direct investigation into this timeless human urge, using the tools of our age to answer a call that has always echoed from the forests of ancient Greece. This is not about mere entertainment, it is about digital spirituality, a search for transcendence through the screen. The experience is designed to induce a profound flow state, that psychological condition of complete absorption where time distorts and self-consciousness falls away. In this space, the communal connection is palpable, even though the bodies are miles apart. A shared laugh causes the virtual flora to bloom brighter. A collective moment of awe sends ripples through the digital ground. This is the modern Theseus, the fennel staff wrapped in ivy, replaced by the haptic controller that trembles in your hand, connecting you to the pulse of the digital congregation. The myth becomes urgently relevant in discussions about the psychological effects of our new technologies. How do these designed experiences fulfill our ancient needs for ritual and shared ecstasy? They offer a form of belonging that can feel more immediate and intense than the physical world, especially for those who feel isolated or misunderstood in their daily lives. Yet this digital wine also carries a potential hangover. The same mechanisms that foster deep connection can also be engineered for addiction, keeping users chasing that transcendent high through endless engagement. The pursuit of digital ecstasy forces a fundamental question about the nature of reality itself. If a virtual experience can satisfy such a deep, primal human need for ritual and release, what does that say about the value we assign to our unmediated physical lives? Are these virtual states a valid form of human experience or merely a sophisticated simulation? As we willingly lose ourselves in these crafted digital realms, we are compelled to ask what we are truly seeking and whether the screen is a window to a new kind of sanctuary or a beautifully gilded cage. Machines whisper their cryptic prophecies from a bank of humming servers. Kenji Yamamoto's algorithmic oracle resurrects the ancient priestess of Delphi not as a woman in a trance, but as a sophisticated predictive system, its pronouncements appearing as streams of probability on a vast, dark screen. You stand before it, and the oracle analyzes your digital footprint, your public posts, and the subtle patterns of your interaction with the artwork itself. Its response is not a riddle spoken in smoke, but a coldly calculated forecast, a percentage chance that you will pursue a certain career path or a cluster of adjectives predicting your emotional state next month. Yamamoto draws a direct line across millennia, observing that the oracle interpreted signs while today algorithms interpret patterns, but both ultimately require human understanding to have any real meaning. The ancient priests translated the Pythia's ravings into actionable advice for kings, and now we face the same task with our own technological seers. This final rebirth forces a confrontation with the black box problem in artificial intelligence. We are given the prediction, the startlingly accurate output, but the intricate reasoning within the neural network remains shrouded in mystery, as cryptic as any divine message. Do we trust the forecast simply because it comes from a powerful system, or do we demand to see the threads of data it wove together? This is the modern challenge of algorithmic transparency. The myth becomes a powerful plea for technological humility. The original oracle's predictions were famously ambiguous, capable of being fulfilled in unexpected ways, and so too are the projections of our machines. A model might predict social unrest with 90% confidence, but it cannot comprehend the spark that ignites it or the human ingenuity that might avert it. The data reveals the pattern, but it is blind to the nuance of spirit and the possibility of grace. Our final question then is not whether the machines can predict our future, but whether we possess the wisdom to interpret their warnings without surrendering our own judgment. Having journeyed through 26 stunning transformations, from a digital Medusa to this algorithmic oracle, one truth stands clear: these ancient stories are not behind us. They are the very language we are using to navigate the wonders and terrors of a world we are still learning to build. The myths have been reborn because we still need them, now more than ever. A digital sculptor does not begin with clay, but with a question. Anya Petrova, whose Gorgon network turned smartphone users to stone, explains that myths give us a shared language to discuss universal human experiences across time. She points out that when she titles a work Medusa, she does not need to spend 10 minutes explaining the core concept of a dangerous, paralyzing gaze. The audience already understands the framework, allowing her to dive straight into the modern twist, the specific commentary on our relationship with technology. This narrative efficiency is a powerful tool for any contemporary artist trying to cut through the noise. Multimedia artist Carlos Mendez, who reimagined Icarus in wax and code, echoes this sentiment from a different angle. He says he uses Icarus because his story contains timeless truths about ambition that every generation rediscovers. For him, the myth is not a static tale but a living, breathing pattern. He can plug our current technological ambitions into that ancient structure and immediately see the points of strain, the potential for a catastrophic system crash. These conversations with creators reveal a fascinating pattern of their own. Beyond efficiency and resonance, artists are drawn to mythology for its profound cultural continuity. It provides a bridge that connects their work not only to audiences in different countries but to the entire human timeline. A myth is a container, a durable vessel strong enough to hold our most pressing modern concerns. An artist grappling with artificial intelligence can pour that anxiety into the story of Pygmalion, creating a synthetic muse. Another, concerned with environmental collapse, can channel that urgency through the flight of Daphne, her transformation into a tree becoming an act of ecological defiance. These ancient frameworks allow them to explore the complexities of technology, society, and human nature without having to build the world from scratch. They are inheriting a map of the human heart, one that has been redrawn for centuries but still accurately charts our deepest fears and highest aspirations. So what ultimately draws such a diverse array of creators to the same ancient springs? It is the realization that the oldest stories are not about the past, they are about us, right now, giving us the vocabulary to name the new gods and monsters we create every